Next, please. Hi everyone. In this presentation, we talk about the conflict between Israel and Palestine, focusing on the humanitarian crisis in Gaza since 207. Gaza has been under a blockade by Israel and sometimes Egypt. This had made life very difficult for the people living there. They don't always have access to food, clean water, electricity, or medicine. Also, in this presentation, we will explain the background of the conflict, how the blockade affects daily life, and the legal and international issues involved. We will also talk about the media, possible solutions, and what we can do to help. Uh, I hope this gives you a better idea for what's happening in Gaza and why it matters. Thank you.
Hi, I'm gonna talk about the blockade on Gaza and the nature of this blockade. Uh, Following Hamas' rise to power in Gaza in 27, Israel imposed a full land, air, and sea blockade. They are joined in part by Egypt. The stated reason was national security to prevent the smuggling of weapons and materials that could be used for attacks. The reality of the blockade extends far beyond military concerns. Items such as cement, steel, medical equipment, food, and even school supplies are routinely classified as dual use goods and are often barred from entering Gaza. This has affected nearly every aspect of daily life. According to the World Bank, Gaza now has one of the highest unemployment rates in the world. Youth employment is set at 60% and more than 53% of the population lives in poverty. Around 80% of Gaza residents rely on humanitarian aid just to meet basic food needs. Next one, please. Uh, the next one is public health under siege. Beyond the economy, public health in Gaza is under severe strain. Hospitals operate with critical shortage of medicine, medical equipment, and electricity. Power outage can last over 20 hours a day, putting lives at risk in services like neonatal care, dialysis, and emergency surgeries. Additionally, patients who need treatment outside Gaza often face delays or denial of exit permits by Israeli authorities. This has tragically led to preventable deaths, especially among cancer patients and children. There's also a major environmental crisis. Over 95% of Gaza water is undrinkable due to contamination and overuse. Full storage hinder desalination and water treatment, leading to untreated sewage being discharged into the Mediterranean Sea. This not only affects public health but also damages the environment. Thanks.
A organization like Nora and work tightly in Gaza, but they after are severely restricted in 2023. UNGAS faced a severe funding crisis after the nation were suspended due to improvement allegation directly impact food, education, and health service. These costs, along with logistical barriers, are political um, inter- interference, drastically limit their operational capacity. Next, please.
Hello, I will talking about to impact on children's education. The blockade has equally devastating effects on education. More than 70% of school buildings in Gaza operating in double or triple shifts, severely limiting instructional time. Textbooks and teaching materials are frequently delayed or destroyed during military operations. Next, please. Legal dimensions and international humanitarian law. Many legal experts and bodies consider Gaza to be under two-factor occupation by Israel, making Israel responsible for humanitarian conditions under international law. International law prohibits collectivist and is stated in Article 33 of the Fourth Geneva Convention, blocking essential goods, especially when it affects life-saving service, may violate this rule. Thank you.
Key international actors such as the EU and United United States often merely express concern without exercising significant pressures. Wars the Abraham Accords have periodically geopolitical and economic interests, saying acid gas as urgent uh, humanitarian crisis that illustrates how diplomacy and regional agreements can inadvertently sideline human suffering. Next, please. Um, right. Eh, Egypt involvement adds another layer of complexity, why not as extensive as Israel's control. Egypt restrict passes through the Rafah crossing, citing security concerns and using the blockade as geopolitical leverage in its dealing with Hamas. Other actors like Qatar of their support with their influence in enduring limited as by the complex geopolitical dynamic of the Middle East. Next.
Okay. Um, so I want to talk about some key points. Sorry, um, because during conflict in Gaza, I think international journalists are often not allowed in. So most of the news comes from Israel sources or secondhand reports, right? Because this make it hard to see the fully humanitarian crisis, and the situation is usually shown as only a security issue because I think which hides the suffering of civilians. And Israel does have real security concerns, but this should not ignore the rights and dignity of people in Gaza, because I think even though things are very hard and mm, there is hope, and the civil groups are asking for justice, and some have taken legal actions, because I think that young people are also more open to human rights and use the social media to share their views and avoid official stories, right? And that's all of my part.
Today, I'm going to talk about some possible signs of change in the conflict. Even though the situation is extremely difficult, first of all, we're seeing more and more civil society organizations in Israel, Palestine, and even in other countries becoming very active. They are speaking on and demanding justice and accountability from all sides involved. Next, please. One key part of the proposal is about humanitarian aid. This aid, like food, medicine, and supplies, will be sent through important border crossings such as Kerem, Shalom, and Rafah. The process will be supervised by the United Nations and the International Committee of the Red Cross. An international peacekeeper who are neutral will provide security. This is important to make sure the aid actually reach the people who need it, and that indeed is not used for military purpose. It's also designated to respect Israel's security concern while still helping civilians in Gaza. Another important point is a temporary ceasefire. Israel, Egypt, and Palestine Authority will sink a legally binding for the 12 months. During this time, no group will be allowed to block or interfere with the delivery of aid. The United Nations will monitor the decisions and they will be penalties if the agreement is broken. This deal does mean anyone has to recognize political group like Hamas. Its focus is only the protection and helping people.
So we have the implementation steps. At the step one, we have the UN, the United Nations Security, the Council resolution, which will pass a resolution authorizing the MHAF. We talked before about it, and compelling compliance and enabling peacekeeper deployment, and also precedents include the resolution 1701. They put it in action in Lebanon in 2006, and the resolution 2165 they used it in Syria in 2014, which authorized the cross-border aid under conflict. So this can allow us to cross the help, the aid to Gaza. And step two, we have trilateral negotiation mechanisms. So Israel and the Palestinian Authority and Egypt, assisted by the UN envoys, will negotiate and technicalities of corridor locations, inspection procedures, and personnel composition. And these will not the Hamas be a formal signatory, but will be expected to be observed the humanitarian truce under the UN pressure. Step three. In step three, we have the neutral countries like Switzerland, Sweden, Norway. These countries will supply inspection and monitoring staff. Also, the technology like blockchain and satellite tracking will ensure the aid is traceable and this will promote transparency in this process. At the end, at step four, we have the multilateral trust fund launch. In these steps, we have the donor states like the European Union, United States, Qatar, and other countries. These will fund the reconstruction and humanitarian needs via a World Bank administered trust fund with benchmarks tied to infrastructure goals. and not to political criteria. So this means that we have transparency to give the people the help, the economical help, or food, or every other kind of help. So this will really, really arrive to Gaza and not be interference or given to other country or get lost in the way. So this will give much transparency. And to conclude, we have the blockade of Gaza imposed by Israel represents a profound moral, legal, and political failure. So this was originally justified as a security measure. It has become a tool of a collective punishment, depriving over 2 million Palestinians, which is a lot of people, of their basic human rights. So the blockade has severely disrupted access to food, medicine, education, and economic opportunities. So uh, these are these are contributing to collapse and increasing dependence on international aid, which we know that is often politically manipulated. And also, we have the humanitarian aid should be delivered based on needs, not politics, and humanitarian access must be prioritized in any negotiation. Also, the voices of Palestinians in Gaza must be heard. So, and also their stories should inform better policy choices. So basically, in conclusion, the Gaza blockade is sustained injustice and an obstacle to peace. It is solvable crises that require urgent collective action to restore dignity, save lives, and lay the foundation for a just future, to give justice to that people, which is what they really need. And this was the proposal of the Team 9. Thank you.